That rang my ears a little bit. I miss being in here.
I know. Me too.
AC, man.
Yeah. It's all a little hot
AC.
there, the place, eh?
It's a freaking sauna
Oh my
in
god.
there.
Oh my god.
Cool gym though. How do you like the gym?
I
You worked
think
out the other day? Did you like it?
I loved it. I loved it.
Turf's
Lots of
nice.
turf. It's big, high ceilings. What are they? 60-foot ceilings? 60-foot
It's
ceilings?
crazy.
Um,
It's like
yeah,
8,000
it's
square
incredible.
feet.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's a sweet
Once
spot.
we get done, finish furnishing all that, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
The place has been great.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. They how's the ice?
Ice
Because I
has
know the
been-
weather's been
the
mess, but
ice. The ice has not been great.
yeah.
It's been like the one day the compressors weren't
Compressor.
keeping up. Yeah, compressing. So we had 2 sessions with a dry scrape, and then we went on the other side, on the other rink, and they flooded it at 9:30 in the morning. I was on at 12:30, and it was still just puddles and
Oh,
shit.
yeah?
Yeah, it was horrible. But yesterday was a little bit better, but it's not ideal ice.
No. I
Could
think
be a
that-
lot better.
I remember that even from back in the day, like
Yeah.
even before these owners had it,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
previous. Remember when it was like the
Yeah.
Remember the bar upstairs with the bubble hockey?
Oh, I remember.
Did you hang out there a lot? Did you skate there a lot even or no?
Oh, that was the first place I ever did camps.
Oh, really?
When I started in Windsor, that was the first place I ever did camps, and it was fine. I didn't know any better, and because I hadn't skated for like 6 years, and then when I got on the ice, I was like just happy to be on the ice and the smell and the sound, and I was so fired up. Went to bed that first night after I was done my first session, and it wasn't great as far as like I didn't have quality people. It was my first one. I just sent stuff out, and people laughed at me and said like, "Oh, another hockey school." Like, anyways, I would just went out there and but just being on the ice, and that it didn't matter what the ice was. It was awesome. And then it just got better from there. And then, so your question was, did I skate a lot there? I did my first year. My first year, I did most of my camps out of there, clinics and camps. And yeah, it was good for me. Yeah, it was good for me.
And then did you switch to Tecumseh after that?
Yeah. 'Cause
I never did one camp with you at Tecumseh that I can
No.
remember.
I know. I don't think so.
They
No,
were-
probably not.
I only
No, we
remember
went to
WFCU.
Yeah, and you had mornings at
Windsor?
South Windsor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I moved here just because I had a back in like the early 2000s, the Tecumseh. So for people that don't know, we're talking like a different language. Tecumseh is a suburb of Windsor. It's like you would never know it's a suburb, but it's a suburb of Windsor. And I had it was like probably the heaviest populated for youth players here in LaSalle, and then so a lot of the AAA guys were from Tecumseh. So that's why I just kind of said, "Oh, we'll try this place," and they were really good to me right from the get-go. So that's why I spent 20 years there.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where we are right now.
Yeah. Then they ended up
Um,
building me this gym here, which has been amazing, which helped help us do a lot of different things with the business, and then things move on, right? Things change.
Yeah. Seriously.
Things change.
Big change.
Hmm. And then now the population of the Tecumseh minor hockey, like or the population has moved. Like I'm sure in many cities, which once was the biggest, is now one of the smaller ones because in this area it just keeps moving outwards. So now the Bell River area is the most populated. So if you're looking at if you were to put a bang for your buck on what would be the most populated hockey players for youth, it would be the Bell River area for this area.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also didn't realize how far out Bell River is from where we're at.
Yeah.
Like until,
Relative.
It's like what, at least 15 from here?
15, 20 minutes.
That's far.
Yeah, unless you live in Toronto, they go, "What do you mean?"
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
right,
you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the PowerTech online membership program. If you've been listening to Andy and I wondering, hey, how are they able to get all this podcast content out there? Well, that's because of our members. For just $9.99 a month, you can get access to our online video library, including hundreds of videos of Coach Andy teaching, and have the option for consultation calls with Andy or myself to go over anything you need. We can cover training, nutrition, coaching, parenting, agents, the junior college hockey path, whatever's of interest to you. You'll also be able to participate in our popular Ask Me Anything episodes, have access to special discount codes, and be given priority for any PowerTech in-person camps or events. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, this is the best way to do it. Visit powertechhockey.ca/memberships or find the link in the description of this video to learn more. Cool. So like we're in the middle, kind of the middle of like summer camps and stuff. So now we're like kind of full swing with some different groups on the ice, off the ice, whatever. So like we're where are you at right now? Like, where are your thoughts at with like the groups that you have? Kind of what you're seeing. I know you're running with Dale. I don't know if he had any. He can talk. So I wonder if he has any thoughts also, like just things you guys have been talking about with some of the groups versus not, whether it's skill gaps, coaching gaps, personality gaps, like stuff that you're seeing now.
Well, before we go into the gaps, interesting how how things come full circle. Just everything comes full circle. So this week, former students of mine, or we'll call them students, and friends brought their kids out. Now I'm feeling old. So Steve Ott and Mike Weber brought their kids out. So both of them are they were, when they played, they skated with me. So I used to train them on the ice, as you know, and they worked out in here. And they've retired. I don't even remember how long ago. It's probably almost 8 years now that they've retired, 7-8 years, and they're both coaching in the NHL now as assistant coaches. So Webby, he started off coaching with the Spitfires as an assistant coach. Then he went up to Rochester for Buffalo's farm team, and then he is now with Steve Ott in St. Louis. And Steve has been an associate coach with St. Louis for years now. Won a Stanley Cup with them. So, anyways, their kids are skating with me now, and it's hilarious. So I got a side story on that. So interesting to see because they're hockey dads now. They're just hockey dads, and they're NHL coaches, right? But it's really interesting. But they're excited to have their kids skate with me, and they're Otter the other day goes, he goes, "You can still go, man." And I go, "I don't feel like I can skate." He goes, "Oh," he goes, you look like you're a butterfly on sore feet." He goes, "Silky smooth hands and all that stuff." And I said, "Oh, it's pretty funny." But what he said to me was, he kind of interrupted the conversation. He was sitting beside me. And he just said, "Andy, I just got to tell you," he goes, "your podcast is unreal." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, it's unreal." He goes, "So in the St. Louis area," he goes, "all these minor hockey parents are always coming up to him and say, 'You got to watch this podcast. It's so good,' and all that stuff." And he goes, "Yeah." So the first time that happened, he goes, "Yeah, that's my buddy. That's my buddy." He goes, like I used to skate with him. We're friends." He goes, "That's my buddy. Like that's who I used to skate with and train." He goes, "It's awesome." He goes, "But," he goes, "it's so funny because you're actually," he goes, "like especially him not being a hockey dad now." He goes, "It's all the things that we're saying." He goes, "Is like it's bang on." He goes, "For example, just got done. You got done, I guess the playoffs last year or this year. I don't know if they made the playoffs. I think they did. Doesn't matter. Anyways, they were just done. He won a Stanley Cup, and they had to take a team to a tournament. And one of the parents was pissed at the coaches. He goes, "I just won a Stanley Cup, man." He goes, "I might know what I'm doing, but right. And I said, "Yeah, you'll never win. You'll never win with the parents. Like it's not a chance. I mean, you might get some appreciative ones and whatever, but," he goes, "you're gonna get." I said, "You're gonna get the ones that they just think they know more than you, no matter what." And I said, "So you're an NHL coach, man. You played I think 15 years in the NHL, over 1,000 games. Might know the game. Might know the game. Played on the World Juniors. Might know the game. Assistant coach of the Canadian World Junior team, or not World Junior team, Canadian World Championship team. Might know it. And then won a Stanley Cup as an assistant coach, runs the power play and stuff. So I think he might know the game, but then you still have a mom and dad, or a dad bitching to other parents about how shitty the coaching is." So like, and that's the thing that we always talk about. It's like, it's your expectations when you're young, right? Because like, I forgot how, looks like someone was at our door. They're going to make a noise here, I think. It's funny, the expectations you have as a parent is you want excellent coaching. It's like, but the kids are out. Like Webby's one older boy, he's pretty good. Like, so one of the guys that works with us goes, "Man, he's a good player, eh?" I go, "Yeah, like he is, but he's not that good yet." Do you know what I mean? Like
How old would he be?
10, maybe 11. But he's good. He's sturdy on his skates. He's got some intensity like Webby did, and he's got some strong on the stick, and he got some basic skills. But it's too early to tell if he's really good, right? So like when parents are looking at the coaching and at the level that they're at when they're 10, it's like it's just let it happen, let it happen.
Yeah, no, it's got to be funny to see for you, man. Watching the next, now the former guys you coach now.
Well, and you're watching them, like, because that's what Steve told me last time we talked, is you're watching them toe the line of being crazy, because, and they have maybe a better reason to, because they actually know what it takes. You know what I mean? But then the other side is that they should actually know that how hard it is, and that it's just a fun game and relax. So, but like any parent, that's the line, right? It's like, do I push or do I hold back? And there's a fine line. And one of the great things that Steve said about his older boy was that the first couple of years he just didn't care about hockey, he didn't like it, but we brought him out, and it was him trying to push his kid, like, come on, man, like you gotta push. And I remember telling him last year, I said, you gotta let him just happen. It's gonna happen. If he's gonna love the game or he's not. When he loves the game, he's gonna want to be there. When he doesn't, he won't. And he says, and that's what he told me yesterday. He goes, his oldest boy is starting to really like hockey, so he wants to be there. And as a coach, it shows. Not he's on the ice because he has interest. He's asking questions. It's not like he's asking intelligent questions. He's just like into it. He goes, "What do I call you, coach? Like, do I call you Coach Andy, Coach?" So yeah, just call me Coach Andy. It's fine. Call me anything, but call me Coach Andy. He goes, "Okay." And then I'm showing him something on a drill, and he's looking because he wants to get better. For a 9-year-old, that's not playing the highest level yet, but you could see that his desire to be better is there, and he's around hockey all the time. So now he can cognitively
cool.
get what he's doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas you see a lot of the kids at that same age, and you talk to them, and it's like you're talking to the eyes. You're looking into the eyes of a chicken.
Yeah,
They're all over the place. They don't care. They're just there to have the ice, and you don't know it's because they want to be there or because mom and dad signed them up. And for the most part, that's what I think a lot of them do.
Well, that starts nice because like that's one thing I guess you would be seeing, as you usually point out with a lot of these kids. It's a common theme. But now, so you have like from the 10-year-old to what would be 23 for some of the college guys now, 22. So let's go like kind of through the groups. You can touch by age group or whatever, just like some of the general things. Like, what are you noticing in like the summer training that is missing, whether it's like a skill thing or just a mental thing? Like, what are some of the things that you and Dale have been talking about, like running through some of these groups?
I'd say like the older group, like when we have our
How old?
I'm going to say our college and junior
Okay.
group. So that you got guys that are drafted, guys in college, guys in OHL. I would say that that's obviously the best group.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not the 9-year-old group.
Yeah. I would say that's the best group, but I'm saying that in a lot of different ways. They always have that. That group has been good for a long period of time. They've done things correctly for a long period of time, like training, taking some time off, working on proper skills, like filling a lot of the skill buckets. I think the biggest gap where I see with some of them now, and this is kind of like an obvious statement, is there's guys that were on a trajectory, and now they've hit the top of that, and it's going to be like the skill piece. It is what it is. They can all shoot. They can all pass pretty good. Some of them are awesome at it. They compete really hard. They mostly skate very well. Like all those components are good, and they're attentive. They want to be there, ask questions. They're the yes coach. They're louder. They talk on the ice, all that kind of stuff. So everything that you want out of them is there. Now it's just like a common sense factor. Now the only thing different now is that because they're getting in their 18 to 20s, now it's that group dwindles down, obviously, because
guys drop out.
Once you get to 17, 18, kids start realizing that they're not hockey players anymore. So that group has dwindled down quite a bit from where I used to have to turn people away. Now it's like I'm trying to get a guy from another town coming in and stuff like that. So, but where I see the biggest gap with them now is just the peak. And now it's like real specific on, like, maybe it's not trainable, maybe it is, but now it's like really up to them on what they need to work on. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I could take that kid sitting there and just, I could point out certain things. Now it's up to him to decide, okay, but I need this and I need to do that. So for example, it's maybe it's too creative. Right, maybe you're too creative right now. Like, in fact, here I'll use an example. So, Jet Luchenko on Charlie's team went first round to Philadelphia. I just read an article that he was in, and they're saying that he needs to start getting a shot first mentality. Okay, because he can skate unbelievable. He can pass. He's got unreal vision. He works hard. He competes and all that stuff. So now to get to his next level, what is it going to take? And they're basically saying that you need to have a shot first mentality, because at the next level things change, and then you watch a little video and it's like, okay, here's his tendencies, this is what's going to happen, and now maybe it's a shutdown thing, right? So I'm not, if Jet ever listens to this, this is not a carve, it's just a reality. At some point you meet your maker, and you win or you lose. So he's a very intelligent kid, and he's quietly intelligent, quietly fierce. So you know that he's going to take that and study it and work it and implement it into his game. So he's going to probably, but my point is he has to choose now. Do I learn how to, like in his training, does he learn how to shoot in traffic? Does he learn how to set himself up in areas, in softer areas where he gets the puck back, where he can create deception, all these different things that'll make him, maybe instead of getting 1 or 2 shots a game, maybe he gets 5 or 6, because he has the ability to create, right? So that'll be him. So it'll be like, maybe it's someone that needs to be a little bit more physical or back check harder. Like those are now decisions. So as you get older and your game is kind of like a complete game, now you have to take out 1 or 2 things and just say, okay, this is what's going to make me a pro or a college player or a junior and a successful one. And if I don't do that, then what am I gonna do?
Yeah, I'm noticing the same thing with the off ice now, because these guys are in that 18 to 23 kind of range. And so when I'm talking to them now, like we're doing a similar progression of the off-season program that I normally would do, but now I have to kind of change what I'm aiming for as an outcome, because it's not so much they need for that group. They need to build strength and get bigger, and like a lot of them are big enough, they're strong enough, because we're not in the bodybuilding sport, you know what I mean? We're not in the powerlifting sport, so that's not the focus. So I was having a conversation with one of our college guys yesterday, and he was talking to me about his conditioning. He was like, I feel good, I feel fast, I feel strong, and then 35 seconds in, I'm getting tired. And I'm like, okay, so here's how you can work on the conditioning piece. Like that's your base building. That's what you need. You need to be able to last longer, right? So what I want you to do is X, Y, Z. And if some of the stuff we're doing in the gym suffers, that's okay. Like if you come in here and don't feel as strong, if you come in here and don't feel like you can throw the weight around as easily, that's actually okay for you, because you feel like you need to work on this, which unfortunately it's a game of trade-offs, right? If you're focusing on trade-offs, if you're working on one thing, you're not working on the other thing, right? So if I'm going to say, hey, you need to hammer on your conditioning now until the end of summer, then what's going to suffer is your lifts are going to suffer. But that's okay, because you've identified what it is that you need to focus on, and that's going to be something that you prioritize, as opposed to the general let's build. So right now we're coming towards the tail end of like the power phase, where we're going to start to move more into speed conditioning stuff. So he's just starting earlier. He's going into his conditioning stuff a little bit earlier, because he wants to have a good 2 months to focus on that stuff. So I'm talking to him about, building aerobic base and building that endurance piece into how he's training now before other guys are doing it, because that's something he feels he needs to focus on. So whether it's on the ice or off the ice, that's something that I've noticed as well now, because of the age. You need to start getting super specific about the thing you need to work on. And it's the same thing even with Charlie. We've been talking about some feedback he's gotten from camps and from some other coaches. And it's like, okay, so that is always going to be a focus for you now. Like, you're strong enough, man. You know what I mean?
Well, I was just going to say that. Like, there's a point where George St. Pierre said that in his book, right? He goes, it's is being able to squat 600 or 500 or 450 pounds important? It could be, but in that field, like in the fight game, he goes, it might not be that important, but it's important. But he goes, what's more important is if you're in an awkward position and you have to flip somebody or press them off you from one leg in an awkward position, do you have that kind of strength? We'll call it, for lack of a better term, functional strength, right? So, or if you're walking and you step on a piece of ice, you might be able to squat 400 pounds, but you have the balance to save you from doing that in the proprioception, right? So, so like in one player's case that we were talking about is powerful, right? And that shows in his stride. Once the motor's going, it's like powerful because he's a heavy squat. What was identified to him was like, yeah, but it's because you set yourself so low in the squats and stuff like that. Your change of direction stuff, the tendons haven't been trained to be quick. So like get on the plyometrics and learn to get the quickness. So now you have the quickness and the power because you don't need to be stronger. Like you
Right.
don't.
Right.
You will as you get older anyways, but you don't need to get stronger. So it's a different type of strong. And there was another boy in here that's an 05 too. I was watching this summer and I felt like he was peaking. I could see up until last, like let's say we're doing cleans or squats and stuff. I saw him going like this. And I could be wrong because I haven't seen him every day, but then I was watching him lift and do snatches and stuff like that. And I'm going, okay, now it's like I feel like he's peaked. His body is not the way it was. It was not progressing the way it was. I feel like he's peaked.
Yeah. Right.
So maybe it's an age thing. Maybe like so guys get to that level. So that's where you have to get hyper specific and fix the little things that you need. And so to my next question or to my next piece on that is that's where if you put all your faith into your trainers, I'm not saying that you can't ask them questions. I want to say this the right way. So if you go on the ice with anybody anytime, or if you have even a specific guy and you have 15 guys on the ice, well, then you might not be touching on what you need to touch on. That's where you may need that is where you might need your private lesson, several of them, right? Or have a consult with someone to say, okay, you can't afford private lessons, and maybe there's no one there that could really help you with this because they're not good at it. So how can we work around that? So like maybe someone like you could say, or you consult with the team or whatever. You say, what are some areas that I can do this? Maybe I can't do it on the ice. Maybe I can do it off the ice or whatever. But that's where you got to get hyper specific, because at the end of the day, at that level, if you can't make an excuse why you didn't do it, right? If you're like you said,
no one
there's
cares,
someone that's
man.
not in condition. So okay, you got to get conditioned. You can't come back and say, "Well, I tried." So yeah, well, you're cut.
Yeah, right.
You don't get to play here now, and you never will. Or you might get one chance, you might get three. I don't know, but until you're ready, you're not playing. So, anyways, that's the older guys.
Yeah, and but even with that too, because I remember as you get older, and this is something that for some of the coaches that are with older groups, you can try to clue into, is that a lot of these players, when you get to that point, you start to like working on what you're good at. It's very attractive to just want to do what you like because you're good at it already. So if you can do a heavy back squat, you want a heavy back squat because it feels good to be the guy that is really good at heavy back squat.
Yeah, when everyone in the gym looks at you and goes, "Man,
exactly.
This guy's strong."
Right. So like that's the thing you need to try to resist and make sure that you're focusing on those things that maybe aren't at the same level as that squat, as an example. Okay, so what if we go down the groups? What are we thinking for some of the younger groups?
Well, I'm gonna just I have to generalize it, Eric. I have to, because it basically changes right after the 05 and some of the 06s. Okay, everything before that, I would say, because I've trained them for so long. Everything after that, it's a different animal. And the reason I say that is because the first thing that you're gonna notice is, like, first of all, no, not first of all, somewhere of all, there is an increasingly large number of people that run camps and clinics now. Increasingly large. Like, it's like in this small area, it's almost like for sure 3-4 every summer that are new. And everyone's got the best idea, the new idea, and everyone's picking at the same players, right? So I don't even care if you're in Toronto. It just means there's probably more there, and you're picking at the same kids all the time, right? So when you pick at the same kids all the time, picking through, I'm not picking on, picking through players. So if you got 1,000 players, let's say, I'm just using a stupid number, and you've got X amount of, let's say that you got 20 different skills coaches, that dwindles down quality, right? But it also has people have choices, which choices aren't bad, but what happens is that there's no one that's going to have the same system or teach everything the same, obviously, and now you have to decipher what's good and what's bad, or what's good and what's poor training. And just obviously, this is not any rocket science. The more people that do one thing, the shittier it's going to be, right? Because not everyone's an excellent surgeon. Some guys are hacks, right? Or accountants or whatever, sloppy, right? So it's the same as this. So you get a lot of people that never read a book, never took time to study, weren't students when they played, but they go, oh, yeah, I'm going to run some clinics and make a few bucks. So then people go to that, and then all of a sudden you got kids doing things and maybe there's no purpose to it. Having said that, when you're young, it's not that important that it's hyper specific, and it's not that important that you're on the ice all the time. So that's my point of this whole thing. You were going to say something?
Well, yes, because just before if you get into any more detail on specific skills, one thing that I've noticed this summer more than most, and maybe it's because like we're just very fortunate that group before the, let's say, 04s, 05s, some 03s, some 06s have been very consistent. I'm noticing
before that, my years before that, they were, those guys skated with me.
Well, it would have been before COVID, like the groups up till COVID, basically, right? And then COVID kind of kiboshed it, and then we just kind of had that one group that's been super consistent. That's kind of the transition that I've noticed.
Well, you're 100%
since after
right.
COVID.
Yeah.
So what I'm now seeing is that, and I'm going to put a little bit on the parents for this one because they're the ones that have to drive kids places and do that kind of stuff. And I'm not faulting them for it necessarily. It's just an observation. A lot of them are doing what is convenient as opposed to what is quality, or trying to figure out what is quality. So, for example, some of them are skating with us on a Monday, Wednesday, and they're only coming to the workouts on the Monday, Wednesday. And it's like, okay, so I'm here already. So I'm going to do the skate, and then I'll jump in on the workout because I'm here already.
And understandable to some degree.
Totally. And that's why I'm not saying I'm not faulting them. It's an observation. So here for me, on the trainer side of it, I'm like, okay, I've built a thought out 4-day progression for their workout program, and they're only coming twice a week. So I'm leaving those 4 days open, but now they're like, well, I'm not coming Tuesday, or I'm not coming Thursday. And maybe for good reason. Maybe parents can't drive them, don't want to. It's not worth it for an hour. And all those reasons are fair. Yeah, so it's just
they work.
Yeah, they work. It's just an observation of like they're joining things because the kids got to do something. They got to train. So it's like, okay, things like what's closest to my house? What's gonna be what's cheapest? What can I do to tie it all into one shot so I don't have to drive all over the city 5 times? And all that stuff makes perfect sense and is totally valid. But if I'm being optimal on the training side of it, for you guys to get the most bang for your buck on what you're doing, I don't feel like a lot of them are asking that question. I feel like a lot of kids are jumping around to, like you said, they have choice, so they can jump around to things to try different things. But now as they start to get a little bit older, so if I go to the 2006, 2007, 2008, 9, 10, 11 even now, they're everywhere. And so there's no like thread of teaching. There's no progression of teaching that I can see. It's just kind of scattered all over the place, jump in on this, jump in on that. And you don't get the time. Like for me as a trainer, I don't feel like I have the time to get them to really grasp what we're doing. Like really grasp what we're trying to do, because I just don't get to see them enough.
Which is the exact same on the ice.
Yeah.
That's you put it very, very well. Is that it's very difficult to, unless you're just running a general thing that doesn't matter and you don't want to see a result. That's different. What happens is you get a kid that's skated with you, understands like one of the most important things is understands your demeanor as a coach. So like it's hard to instill discipline. I don't even want to use that as a word, but like grasp attention when someone has been skating with 6 different people, and 6 different people with 6 different personalities, and maybe they're all just like, yeah, do whatever you want, I don't care. Whereas you come, and maybe they're not. I'm just saying that as for example, you get 6 different ways of, kids maybe don't even know, well, how should I behave on the ice? Like that's should be self-explanatory, but that's not. That's reality is different. So or if you work on, it's hard to progress when you have a kid that has skated with you and is in a progression. Now we can do this. Now maybe we're at D, and you have someone that starts coming out once in a while, and then let's say we have 10 sessions and they're out for 4. Well, by the time it gets to 3 or 4, it's almost like you have to. The top guy suffers because the bottom guy has to catch up or learn, or right. So it's like, it's that kind of stuff that I would agree with big time.
And what I know about a lot of the other hockey schools, at least in this area, is a lot of them will design their camps and throw in like, and you'll get a workout, or and you'll get whatever. And then so it sounds like it's the same, but it's not the same. So they'll go and do their skate and then they jump in on their workout. And it's like, well, I'm skating with this guy and I'm working out with him twice a week. So, that's good. And it's like, yeah, but it's not thought out, which I know because a lot of them will hire out components of their camps to somebody else, right? So there's not a thread of we're sitting at the table discussing what are you doing on the ice? What am I doing in the gym? How does this look over a summer? Whereas like for me and you, for example, it's like I know the kind of stuff you're doing on the ice. You know the stuff I'm kind of doing in the gym. And whether or not we talk about it anymore doesn't even matter because we know what's going on. And you know that
I know exactly what phase the guys are in.
Exactly.
And working
out. They're cooked today. So today's not going to be heavy. And then, we get feedback from the kids. It's not just, hey, this is the workout today. Like the other day, I totally changed the workout because I could see as soon as the guys walked in, I got zombie face, and that's not optimal for what they're trying to do. So I can change that up because I have a plan, because I have a progression
and a facility.
So now for all of these kids that I'm seeing for these younger ages, I'm not feeling the consistency where we have time for them to really understand. And that I think is the biggest gap that I see is there's no plan that anyone is following. It's just jumping on a skate here, and jumping on a workout or a couple workouts, or I'll come for this week or whatever. And it's like, you can't progress. So now that's where things start to feel like just another skate. It starts to feel like just a workout. It starts to feel like, and there's no incentive for you to learn. There's no relationship that you develop with the player. There's those kinds of things that are important to support their learning and the quality over time. And it's just missing. And that's what I feel with the younger groups. I don't have the same connection, even though with some of them, I've been seeing them for several years now. I don't feel the same connection with them as I do, let's say, with that older group that we have now. Where it's like, I almost feel like we're buddies, or I feel like a mentor to them, or I feel like they're going to text me and ask me about food or
because
sleep
they trust you,
right?
They
because
trust
they've had
you.
the time.
They've had the time, and it's no different than me. They'll give me a call in the middle of a season or whatever, like, hey, this is what's going on, like they do to you. And the reason that they do that is because they trust you. They've seen you or me say you're not good enough here. You got to get better, or great job, or help them with a decision, because it's more than just doing a camp. It's about building helping them in every aspect of their life, actually, if that's what they choose to ask us about, right? So when they trust you because you've done good things for them, and good things doesn't mean that you blew smoke up their ass for 5 or 10 years. It just means you've done good things where you may have been honest with them, and they realize that, oh, this is true stuff that I needed to hear to make me better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I guess that's kind of one of my frustration at the moment is just that, because I'll see like I said, I have the four days a week boxed out, and then they're not there for 2. So now my workouts don't make sense, right?
No, I know.
Now it's like I should have a 2-day-a-week program that makes more sense if you're only coming twice. You know what I mean? So even today, like for example, for the workout I'm going to do for the younger groups, I'm thinking of switching the Thursday to the Wednesday, like flipping how I do the day that I do the workout, because they're getting a very similar workout Monday and Wednesday now, because they're not coming Tuesday and Thursday. True. Right. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, should I flip it?
But then the question is this is what bothers me, is like, is it on you or is it on them?
Right. And that is what I was going to finish with as my struggle. It's like, well, should I just sacrifice
for everybody?
Yeah.
For a small group.
Right.
I know.
So it's like, should I just sacrifice what I know is the best way to do it and curate it to only 2 days a week and say, yeah, just come twice a week. That's fine. Or should I try to harp on the fact that you should be here 4 days a week, because that's what the progression is?
Comes back though, right? This is where I say everyone meets their maker at some point. Is doing things haphazardly sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But there's a point where it becomes important. Like something, your gaps or your workouts or your whatever it is, that deficiency that you have that you need to work on. At some point you have to work on it. And for some kids, they're talented enough and they're big enough and they're they can get away with it to a certain degree. But at some point, everybody meets it. And is that your draft year? Is that important? Maybe it's later. Maybe it's Maybe you do it when you think you're going to be a pro and you don't be a pro. Is it midget or bantam or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, side note to the side note too. So just last thing, maybe on the older group, a lot of them want to get jobs.
Yeah.
Which, fair.
Yeah, you need some cash.
You want some cash, whatever. I'm not saying what I did is the right way. I'm just thinking like you have basically until you're around 20 to make a real good run at whatever your dream is. Let's say if it's hockey or whatever. After 20, it's just gonna be harder. So for me, like I remember I still had a job. I got a job here. And when I was 16, where I'd work 4-hour shifts, which is pretty typical of a teenager job.
Perfect. Spending money.
And I got a job that worked around when I was going to train, because that was always my priority, you know? And I'm finding like, not even just with jobs, just like tasks. It's like there's a lack of commitment again to prioritizing the training on the ice. Like I've never seen so many kids say, hey, I have a dentist appointment at the same time as the workout, and then I have to go do this at the same time as the workout, and then I have to do this at the same time as the workout.
Not just once.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's many guys. It's not just one guy.
Yeah, I know.
And
I see it.
It's like, why are you choosing that time? Like, why are you choosing to do your task at the same time? And there's some things, of course, that where you don't have control. Like if your doctor tells you what time the appointment is and you have to go to that one, like I get it. But when you have choice, or you could pick a job that is evening hours, or a job that is like, I remember Hunter Smith telling me when he had that one real great year in Oshawa, the year before he worked Tim Hortons on weekends on purpose so that it would keep him away from the shit and he could prioritize his training during the day. So he would work evening hours on Fridays, Saturdays, maybe Sundays. It was something along those lines. Maybe I'm butchering it, but it was something along those lines, so that he wasn't able to go to do the distracting things, and he never had to miss his training, which is what his priority was. And I'm noticing that with a lot of kids as they get older too. It's like they want to get a job and they're working the full. And if they don't care about hockey, then that's fine. That's not who I'm talking to. But if your goal is you want to give this the best run you can, but you're not treating it like it's the priority, like go get there's a lot of jobs that can work around your gym hours, you know, or those quality hours during the day where your training would be best, you know, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. You know, that's where the best training is going to happen, because you're right at your peak of being awake and all that stuff. So why not wait and get something that isn't going to affect that so much, you know? So that's another like side note that I've been noticing. If you have the choice, and some people don't, but if you have the choice, like keep your priorities, man. Like otherwise the time runs out and then you have to miss all kinds of stuff, which I'm seeing a lot across the groups too. It's not just one group in particular. So that's kind of my last thing for the older guys.
So if I was to just say, like, I mean, you can't generalize skating. You can't generalize, or you can, skating, shooting. It's like those are things you can work on or whatever. But I find the thing that lacks the most detail in the game would be passing, receiving them, catching, and passing. Just being a good passer, and that could be just maybe detail that they just don't think it's important. It's not hammered down to them enough, whatever, or they don't think it's important yet, right? So that would be the biggest one that I think outside of this one. And I know it's going to sound ridiculous to some people, but it's just the basic art of communication, man. And we've said this a lot of times on our podcast, but it's so frustrating. It's like, I'm not joking. Me and Dale just sit there on a daily basis and go, what is wrong? So yesterday we had like both of our groups. Well, no, the first one was not bad. They were younger, but then it starts to go where you say hi to someone, it should be hi coach. Like it's just that, right? You have a normal communication where it's just lacking. That's just the normal stuff on the ice. And I'm saying this is more often than not. It's just the communication's not there. They're quiet. Like the ice is like it's almost like they don't know each other. They're not comfortable with each other. And I'm talking guys that play on the same teams and stuff. It's like the ice is so quiet, and it happens more often than not. So you go out there and it's like the energy is not there. At least you don't hear it. So it's like, it's not the hockey that I'm used to, or like, and then that's what I'm saying about that older group we have to, it just drops. And I've been saying this for a long time. And like I said, I don't know if it was a COVID thing. I don't know if it's coaching, but I'm going to just like, there's so many reasons that it's important, but like, I just want parents and coaches to like really, and players to focus on the simple task of communicating. Like, it's amazing. Like, does everybody understand the drill? And you get eyes staring at you, not a head shake, not a yes, not a no. It's just blank eyeballs. Well, what does that mean to you? No, that's what it means to me. So you have to ask. Oh, I'll explain again. So then the same, like, everybody understand this, and like, I'll go step by step, right? Okay, blah 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 blah. This happens. Everyone got it. So I have to say yes or no, guys. Like, simple.
I was doing the same. I was doing
Very
the same,
simple.
Same thing on the ice yesterday.
Yeah, but very simple. Yes or no.
Yeah.
Hi, coach. You guys have how was the skate? How was this? It's like nothing. It's like, what's going on? So
okay. So let me pause it. So two things for me come to mind of why that is, and like the whole spiel I just went on about not having the time with the same group. Do you think that, I know it is also just the group is different. Like, I know the same thing, but like, if we go back to, let's say, like 2014, how many, like, for the groups that you would have doing your camps, how many of the same kids were you consistently seeing in the groups?
turning people away, it was the same guys all the time.
Okay,
Like,
so
like I'm talking, everything's never had a empty camp ever.
right.
It was the highest quality players all the time. It was consistent.
So you were saying seeing the same guys,
Basically from 2000, like, till they graduated on the NHL and they didn't come back. It's the same guys all the time. I remember one day, for 1 week, I had 54 guys that either played pro or junior on the ice at the same time because someone screwed up my schedule and double booked guys. But we made it work, and they were good because we can make it work.
Yeah.
We had 54 NHL, junior, and college guys on the ice at once.
I remember that day. But that
week.
Yeah, that week. Okay, so
Made it work though.
But my point being, because you got to see them, the same people over and over and over, that exact point I made about they get to feel more comfortable. They get to feel like they know you.
This is true, but when you play hockey, you're playing hockey. You're not sitting at a table,
right? Yeah,
having roast beef.
Yeah.
Right, and trying to mind your manners and stuff, right? And can I have another glass of milk, please? Like, you don't have to be shy about that. You want the puck. It's hockey now, right? So,
glass of milk.
Well, yeah. Can I have another glass of milk?
You ever been
please?
somebody at a restaurant that orders a glass of milk with dinner?
No, well, probably. It's weird.
It is weird.
I think it's weird.
It is weird. A glass of eating roast beef.
Yeah.
Another glass of
Well,
milk.
you know what I mean? But like when you're on the ice and it's like you're doing something that's hockey, it's like, doesn't matter what the face is, how old, how big. It's like, hey,
yeah, I do agree.
Do you understand?
Okay,
like, do you understand the drill? Just because don't know people, that doesn't mean you don't know the answer.
So do you definitely see a difference between, like, let's go back 2012, 2013,
Definitely,
2014?
1000%.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to think about that.
Really?
Big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
because here's the other thing, right? What was the other thing? No, the other thing is that because when you are communicative, or you're a hockey player, like a true hockey player, then you understand that when you come into the room and you're the new guy, you're smart enough to say, "Hey, Eric, how you doing, man? Sit here." Like, this is this guy's this guy, and you get on the ice and you make sure that you're comfortable. Another important thing, actually a really important thing. So my son went to his first pro camp, right? So he was with the Red Wings, and I asked him after. I said, after. I said, this is the one talk I always talk with kids about, is like when you go to a camp or you go to a team, make sure that you feel like, or make sure that you make the new people feel like they're important, or someone that may be from an outsider that's not in the group, make them feel important. Don't make them feel like they don't belong, right? So because one day you're going to be the new guy. And when you're the big shot now, one day you're not the big shot, and it'll mean the world to you to have someone that's been there once or twice before, someone that has a big name, say, "Hey, how you doing?" and make you feel like you belong. Because you could be a first-round pick and everything's great, or you could be the last-round pick and it's like maybe you don't feel as comfortable, right? So I mentioned that to him, and he goes, "No, these guys were great." Like he goes like the guys that are supposed to be good dudes made you feel like. He said Steve Eisenman walked up to him while he was having lunch. Day 2, walked up to him and said, "Hey, Charlie, really glad to meet you. I haven't had a chance to shake your hand yet. My name is Steve."
Oh, never heard of
But
you.
hey, no, but like
Yeah.
that's leadership. That's one of the
Yeah.
greatest hockey players in the history of the world. He didn't walk around like I'm the general manager of the Detroit Red Wings, kiss my ass. He was smart enough and good enough and wore a C for a reason that he went up to a kid. All kids. I'm not saying he went up to my kid only, but he went out of his way. And then during the camp, he got feedback all the time from somebody in the organization. Good, like do that, don't do this, right? But that's what hockey is. This is the greatest thing in the world. If you understand how to do this properly, guys, like this is how I'm going to end this. Okay, communication is important. Doing everything right's the right way. If you go somewhere and you make someone feel important, then you'll make a lasting impression for the rest of their life. If you go on the ice and you respond to a coach, the coach is going to sit there and say, I like that kid, because you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Or at worst, if you're at the highest level, you're going to be normal. You're not going to be odd, right? In a bad way. But the greatest thing about this is like, because I've kind of seen this come full circle, even though I haven't seen it come completely full circle, because I've got my kid, right? So I'm going. I've watched people older than me go through it. I've watched myself go through it. I've coached it. I've coached kids, and I'm watching my son get to basically the highest level that you possibly can. And what I can tell you, this, folks, coaches, moms, dads, players, is that if you do this the right way, you're going to have more life experience by the time you're 18 years old. You'll be able to, like, is it a wonder, right? So you get a kid, you go to your first college camp, or you go to your first OHL camp, or you go to your first NHL camp. You get dropped off at a rink. Because I was looking at my kid doing that, right? Going to Detroit. Doesn't know anybody, right? That's hockey, though. But like, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh, whatever, what's a big deal?" No. Drop your kid off out of town when they're 16 or at a pro camp. They don't know anybody. You hope to hell that for your own kid's sake that he's been good to people, so that he can get that reciprocated, so he doesn't feel like shit, or he learns a lesson. But my point to that is that you're learning lessons all the time. You move away. So you wonder why hockey players or athletes can walk into rooms and get jobs, or walk into rooms and talk to people. They've been doing it their whole life. But the key is to talk. If you walk into rooms and you sit there and you don't communicate, you don't teach your kids that, or you don't, as a coach, you don't send that message down to communicate and be nice and give these little messages, then when they do end this hockey thing, whether it's the highest level or not, they haven't built any skills. You know what I mean? So I know, like, I'm quite confident with all the kids that we train, my kid and all that stuff, like when hockey's done, when they go and meet the big bad boss of where they're at, they're going to be able to shake their hand, look them in the eye and talk and tell them some life experience and have something to say. Right? They're going to be in uncomfortable situations, but they've been in uncomfortable situations for years, and more and more. I mean, you're naked with people you don't know, right?
Yeah.
If you're hung like a donkey, it's fine. You walk around like you're king shit. But if it's the opposite, man, like that's just no. But I know this is funny, but right. But if you're not, you're sitting there going, okay, I got to gear down here. It's a thing, man. Right? It's a thing.
Yeah.
So these are the lessons you learn in life. And then what happens is by the time you get to 20-some years old, if you put some actual effort into being communicative and putting effort in and meeting people and doing it the right way, like everything else is a cakewalk. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, I'm huge on the communication. Obviously, number one for hockey, because without the communication, it just doesn't work. Number two, to learn how to talk to older people and have respect and be a good human, like not a good human, but someone that could have a conversation where you stand out and build a skill for life. And then doing an uncomfortable thing, like taking someone that you know is, this guy might get picked on, or this guy is an outsider, or all these things, is just make him feel like he's not a loser, and just say, hey, if you need anything, come and see me. Just shake your hand, stuff like that goes a long way. Do you wonder why guys have success in life? Right? You wonder? It's like if you start doing this kind of stuff when you're 8, not start at 18, you become a man real quick, and you can function in society real well. And then, and the other side of it is that you see, like, another part of, like, coming full circle is as you go through this hockey thing, you're going to be able to read people like you couldn't believe, right? Because you're going to have someone look you right in the eye. Guy parts his hair to the side, looks like a real honest person. They tell you how great you are and that this is what we're going to do for you, Eric. And the next day he goes and does the exact opposite. And you go, what? You're going to look at people's bad intentions, good intentions. You're going to be able to sort out people that are good people, bad people, if you have the ability to do this the right way. And it's huge. It's huge. And then the other thing is that you know, there's so many people that I know that they get their feelings hurt on all kinds of different things. It's like you play this game and you do it the right way. You understand where people's motives are. You understand what people do to get ahead and laziness, and you'll be able to weed out who's a pretender and who's not. And then you just go through life a lot easier. That's the end of my story.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I'm going to cap it right there so as to not ruin it. You know, we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.